Call to order the meeting of Monday, November the 13th, and if the clerk would please read the roll.
Councilmember Archibald.
Here.
Councilmember Ashford.
Present.
Councilmember Harris.
Here.
Councilmember Lamb.
Here.
Councilmember Ruiz.
Here.
Councilmember Warden.
Here.
Mayor Rep.
Here. You have before you the minutes from the regular meeting of October the 23rd and the special meeting of November the 1st. Is there a motion to receive and file?
So move, Madam Chair.
Mayor Pro Tem Ashford, is there a second? Second. Councilmember Archibald, is there any additions or deletions? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes will stand as submitted. We do have one presentation tonight. The city manager, James Free, will give a presentation on the DDA's downtown lighting project. Sorry about that.
It's okay, that's all right.
Every once in a while, I forget I'm not the clerk.
I'll wait for my PowerPoint to pop up here real quick. I apologize, our downtown development director, Natalie Watson, couldn't be here today. She's on special assignment in Europe with her husband for the last 10 days, and so tonight you get the presentation from me. There we go. I sent out a meeting or a briefing to you probably a month and a half to almost 2 months ago about a downtown lighting project the DDA was working on with some donors and some business owners. This is a project that was going to be part of our placemaking to make downtown unique and sort of the placemaking importance of it. So I'll give you a quick review of what we're doing, where we're at, where we intend to go in the next couple of weeks, and when we'll come back to you. So first and foremost, this is a photo of a little small burg called Savannah, Georgia. No community in the state of Michigan does this, so we would be the first community in the state of Michigan to do this. You'll notice the lights that are strung building to building. That's what we are hoping to do in the core of our downtown, north and south of the Military Street Bridge. As you'll see, we have different roof heights across the buildings, so not every building will qualify. For instance, this is a lower roof, so it'll be difficult to run one from there, so we'll have to use a higher roof. MDOT, as that is a state trunk line, we have been working very closely with MDOT for the last couple months to essentially let them know what we're envisioning, if this is possible. We know it's never been done in Michigan, but we'd like to work with you to find a way to make this as possible. One of the things we have to accustom for is it is a state trunk line, a lot of trucks. We have to maintain 18 feet of clearance at any time. Again, you'll see building heights here in the core of our downtown. Funding for this project, it's about a $70,000 project. The CVB, Conventions Visitors Bureau, have offered us an initial pledge of $10,000. The Chamber of Commerce has offered an initial pledge of $5,000. The Spartan Fund at the Community Foundation have offered $10,000. Gary Fletcher and Fletcher Falco and Shouting Law Firm have offered $5,000. $20,000 would come out of the Main Street TIF account, which are used for placemaking and streetscape projects in the downtown. The Atchison Foundation has pledged, I should say, $10,000. And we're working to establish another $10,000 from other donors in the next week or so to achieve a total funding of $70,000 to make this project a reality. And I think that's a huge community effort from all of our stakeholders and contributors in the downtown to really do something special that sets downtown Port Huron apart. One of the things I always hear is about Rochester's Christmas lights. Well, Rochester's Christmas lights are only up for a few weeks, and this is something that will make our downtown special for 12 months. Do we have the other PowerPoint with my other slides? I have a different PowerPoint with some additional slides in the technical drawings, which I'd like to show you as well. Huh?
Yeah.
Well, it's coming. I apologize for the technical delay. This is what happens when Natalie's out of town. Things just kind of fall apart on us here, so. Jim, are you going to be able to pull it up? Okay. So the technical light, the drawings I was going to show you is one, it shows you the 18-foot clearance height that we have submitted of our preliminary application to MDOT. The lights will cross in a cross formation X's downtown. They will vary in heights, and I want to stress that it will go from about McMorran and Huron, all the way from Military down to Pine. And the reason why we choose those thresholds, again, it has to be like building heights. They don't have to be the same height, but they have to be high enough to establish the clearance. We will run aeronautic steel cabling across the buildings, which will support the lights. Our engineering team, Lenny and Dave Smith, have worked very hard on designing this. There is a length to drip ratio. When you hang cables, they drip, and you can't have them below that threshold. Lenny has been working closely with MDOT and the designers on this. But I want to stress that this project wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for our generous donors. So here's what we're working on right now. Right now, we are meeting with downtown business owners and building owners to get easements to access their building. So there will be a bracket that holds the lights on behind the parapet. And so how that will work is we have to have an installer go to the roof, access the roof, install this bracket to hold the light, which will then cross over the street and then connect to a light post. It will be metered on our electricity, which will be using LED lights, which will be marginal at best. So we were meeting with all the business community. So we wanted to line up the funding first, so we knew this project was financially viable. Now we're meeting with the business community to ensure that the downtown business owners who said they support it would also be willing to give us an easement to access their building. We're getting much positive response. We hope to have those easements drafted and signed in the next week and a half. By the next council meeting, I hope to have an execution-worthy contract, meaning a contract with the installer to execute, an agreement to accept the funds on behalf of this project, and accepting the easements to make this project happen for your action in the next 2 weeks. So that's kind of the timeline we're hoping for. We are hopeful that we can get these lights up in time for the holidays. And I can take any questions if anyone's got any. Oh, here's the technical drawings right here. And you'll see how they'll cross there. Now, again, those are not standard size lights.
Yeah.
The bulbs will be a little smaller. And then you can see on the south side of the bridge as well. The Michigan Mutual will be key in their building to connect to all the buildings across way. We've also had meetings with the foundation, and they're going to do some pretty amazing Christmas lights this year as well. But you'll see the drawings, and you'll see the design. And it's pretty simple as that.
Should look really good. Anybody have any questions on council? Councilmember Ruiz?
I did. I think I mentioned it to you some time ago when this kind of popped up. I think it might have been the first time. I don't always go to the parade during the summer. Aren't there some balloons that go, they were brought in at that time, but I think might have gone above that?
Correct. We have about 2 balloons that go through, and they would have to be adjusted during the parade to account for these.
Thanks.
Mayor Webb.
Yes, Councilmember Archibald.
Love the idea, but has anyone talked to all the people in the lofts and how they're going to like the lighting that's going to be?
It's not going to be like street lighting. It's going to be auxiliary lighting, so it's not going to be like so bright they're sleeping in daylight, and it will be raised above their windows.
Is it going to be on 24 hours a day?
No, just at night,
So, to a certain time?
all night.
All night?
All night.
Yeah.
Same with our uplighting our trees.
Yeah.
We'll do them, well, I think we'll end up doing them on photocells is what we're looking at. So when the sun goes down, the sun goes up, the photocell will take it. Now, with the LED lights, it provides 23 years of continuous runtime in those bulbs. Well, if you're only running them at nighttime, which is about 8 to 10 hours at night of complete darkness, the bulbs will probably outlast all of us. Surely all of you.
Wasn't thought.
Yeah. At least those of us sitting up here, right? Is there any other questions?
Really, this is about placemaking. We want to make our downtown a destination, something very unique. When you come to Port Huron, we already have unique shops, unique restaurants, unique downtown living, a college right in our downtown. We have the arena, we have our ice, we have our field house. This is really just adding to make downtown Port Huron something special and unique. I want to thank all of the community partners. Raising money for this project was the easiest thing we have ever done. We literally, as soon as we showed the project, there were so many people who stepped forward who wanted to make this happen. It was just amazing at how easy it was to get the funding for this, and that really is a testament to those who continue to support these types of projects. If you look at the donor list of who's going to be supporting this project, those are all familiar names because they are constantly supporting efforts in our downtown, and for that we are forever grateful.
Thank you. We shall move on with the agenda now to public comment. If there's anyone in the audience who wishes to address the city council on any agenda item or other thing that's under our jurisdiction, please come forward. You have 4 minutes. You need to state your name.
My name is Jerry Trumbull. My address is 415 11th Street. There's a couple questions I got for the city council. I've been renting these places for the last 12, 13 years. I got a 4-year running permit. I'm evicting this one girl. She's been evicted 11 times. And she filed a couple of police reports, and they were threw out because of the situation. I was in the hospital at the time she made these reports out. And I went and talked to the inspector over there, the rental inspector, because she had the gas meter pulled. And so I had a lawyer, and we did a 30-day quit first, then did the 7-day because it was an unsafe environment. So I goes to the city to see if they would do that 3-day deal where they come in and they tag the house because unsafe, and they wouldn't do that. So he goes to court 3 days later, and on the 7-day complaint, and Judge Platcher says, get gas in the property within 6 days. So the girl goes out and gets some person to get the gas in her name. Then the 26th, 3 days later, she files a complaint with the builder inspector that there's no fire extinguishers, when ground fall don't work. She ripped the top stair apart. And so they violate me, 4 code violations. It says that my 4-year running permit is in violation, could be taken. Well, the girl won't even let me in the house. And so we do the 30-day quit, because we did the 30-day first, and we ended up doing an unsafe thing. And we goes in front of Monahan, and here she's crying and sobbing, and ain't got a lawyer. And anyway, he looked at it like it was a non-payment of rent situation. Well, you know, she rips the the smoke detectors down and does this deal here, and he still says it's a non-payment of rent. So what I'm getting at, how can the city go in there with me not being there, and I've already talked to the city about this whole situation, and yet they go in there and they code me, and I asked the city to go ahead and do that 3-day deal because it was getting cold. The next day, Platcher had her put it in within 6 days to get that gas on. Well, how can the city enforce codes when they don't even enforce them? They don't even enforce them, you know, like that goes up there and talks to them, and the lawyer says, well, go over to the city and see if you get the city to do that 3-day eviction thing. So I'm just wondering, how can the city go on my property with me not being there and give me a bunch of codes?
Okay, well, at this point, it certainly is nothing that we have been brought up to date on, so it
Oh,
would
I
have to be.
know. I talked to the manager here he was in the same room, correct?
No, you never spoke with me. I was there with the police escort to make sure you left the
Right.
building.
And you pushed the elevator for me and told me to get out.
That's right.
Yeah. So I goes over to the courthouse and gets the same treatment over there by the people who run you through the metal detector. And you know, I mean, come on, she ripped. She hasn't even been there 2 months. I haven't had no violations in this thing here ever since I've been renting, like what she's done.
Just, your time is up, and I'm not trying, so as far as that goes, but I think I would have to, at this point, ask if the city manager would at least let us, doesn't necessarily right now, but we all need to be brought up to date on this, so there's nothing that,
Well, we need to do something with going into the property, trespassing the property is what the city's actually doing. And there's other landlords that agree with me the whole way. I don't see how you could go in there and trespass against my property when I a week before that, talked to the inspector, and he says, yeah, we'll do this and do that, and turns around and does the opposite.
well, thank you for
Total
bringing this to our
opposite. Thank
attention,
you.
but we will, I would appreciate it if, Mr. Freed, you would let us be informed us about what this is all about, okay? Thank you. We'll move on. Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to address the council this evening?
Might get beat up.
Seeing no one, I will declare public comment closed. Consent agenda. Is there a motion?
So move.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Ashford. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Archibald. And
Mayor Rep.
Aye,
Could we
Councilmember
take,
Harris.
could we take Resolution 3 off of the consent?
Number 3.
Yes, please.
Okay. We will take a vote on the rest of the items.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Mayor Rep?
Yes, the items on the consent agenda was, we received from the Michigan Liquor Control Commission, 2 notification, 1 to transfer ownership of an escrowed 2017 SDD and SDM licensed business with Sunday sales from Webster's Party Store to the Electric Spirit Shop at 3407 Electric Avenue, and transfer 2017 Class C license with Sunday sales permit and dance entertainment permit from 1639 Garfield to Suite A, 927 6th Street basement level. Also received and filed notification that Robert Beeden has been reappointed by the mayor to the Traffic Study Committee with a term to expire November 28, 2019. Approve the scheduling of a public hearing for December the 11th to hear comments and suggestions for updates regarding the draft 5-year Parks and Recreation Plan. Recognizing McLaren Port Huron as a nonprofit organization in the city of Port Huron. Confirm and approve single-lot special assessments for special trash pickup in the right-of-way. Correcting the terms of council members Anita Ashford and Rico Ruiz, serving on the Blue Water Area Transportation Commission for their expiration to be November 24th, 2018. And that would be it. So we will move on then to, from the city manager, number 1.
Approving an amendment to the 2016-2017 budget to provide for year-end transfers.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
Councilmember Archibald and Councilmember Lamb. Is there discussion?
Mayor Rep,
Councilmember Harris.
I wonder if I could ask the city manager what are kind of our short-term futuristic plans for the $400,000 that we're ahead? It says the finance, income tax, and human resources, and I just...
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate that question, Councilman Harris. First and foremost, from the beginning, you'll see our revenues came in slightly higher than normal. The sale of assets, you'll remember that cell phone tower that we sold for $500,000. If it wasn't for that, we would have actually had a deficit of almost $100,000. So that really was a very highly unusual source of revenue for this year, and it distorts that factor. One of the things that you all directed me to do at the council adopted goals was updating our software system. We're currently on the mainframe system. We lack the ability to deploy a modern system for accounts payable, receivable, payroll, and that was something that you want us to explore. That $400,000 of sale, we were transferring that to the IT fund so that our IT department can begin developing an RFP for new software deployment to make us more efficient throughout the city. And so that's what that will be used for, that one-time revenue. It will be invested into upgrading our systems, which we believe will provide operational efficiencies across the board. We run our city very efficiently, but very archaically, because we've never invested in that software. And so our IT department will begin working on fulfilling your goal and your directive from January to us.
Mayor Pro Tem Ashford.
Yeah, I believe to add to the city manager's comment dated November the 13th, you did say that also the sale would also be a necessary enhancement to our financial income tax and human resource. Is that all the same?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
We'll be
So
using.
we did get a
Yes,
printout
absolutely.
as to what that 400,000 would go towards.
Correct.
Any other discussion?
Mayor Rep,
Councilmember Warden.
just a couple questions on this. The current, I guess for the last budget, it looks like there was, am I correct, and there's 765,000 in that data processing fund? Is that correct?
Yeah.
And this 400,000 additional that shows up, again, as income tax, people are making more money out there, the income tax revenue exceeded, and again, that's a good sign for our community. Is there any other place that this, because this adding this 400,000 to this data processing fund puts it at 1.1 million, 1.65 million, I think, 1,165,000. Where else, I guess in discussion or thoughts, where else would that extra 400,000, what other choices would we have to allocate it over to?
That's not just fund equity, that's an operating budget of $765,000. It's an enterprise account, so that doesn't mean they have $765,000 of disposable income. That's an enterprise fund. As for the income tax, we also had unusual income tax receipts this year that we do not expect next year as well. And so between the two, $500,000 to $800,000 of unusual income, which we do not anticipate that we will have next year.
I'm still, just if we can ask, where else could we choose to put this $400,000 that's available?
You could, the council could put it in any type of fund they want. I would advise keeping it out of the general fund, as it's a regulated fund by our bond agencies. However, the council did direct us to find a way to deploy this new software in January, and this is the only means which we will be able to do that. If we do not do it this year, it is not budgeted in the next fiscal year, and I don't see how we'll do it in the future.
Okay, so we can, yeah. Yeah, it just is, that's a nice number to have as a surprise, I guess. And it sure, my thoughts go toward the unfunded liabilities that we are dealing with in forefront, and I don't know if that dollar amount of payment would be able to allocate it over to the pension unfunded liability as a contribution to MERS.
I think I understand your intent, but what I would advise is that our IT systems are archaic. We're using a mainframe system that literally was used in the 80s and 90s. We desperately need to upgrade our software system so that we can deploy a much more efficient payroll system, an accounts payable receivable system, and income tax system across our city. This is a desperate need that our city has. We are living in the dark ages in some aspects.
Okay, so do you have an idea of how much that system would, no idea?
Between 300 and 500,000.
Okay. Okay.
Any other questions?
Well, the only comment I have is that I think we should be doing everything possible to put toward that unfunded liability because it's growing. And I think within future budgets, we'll have to deal with how do we come up with this other money.
Mayor Rep?
Mayor Pro Tem Ashford.
Yeah, City Manager Fried, if you can just speak to the rationale or the drivers that you did take in adjusting certain areas, maybe that can shed some light on there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to applaud the various department heads for coming in within their budget and able to reduce budget. Throughout the year, we try to find cost efficiencies, things that came in under budget, projects that were cheaper than we thought. And so that's where a lot of these efficiencies came from. It really wasn't taken away. It wasn't necessarily cuts. It was just money that was budgeted that wasn't spent. We have a rule in the city of Port Huron, just because we budget a number doesn't mean we spend it.
Right.
If we budget $1,000 for supplies and we only spend $800, well, then that's $200 that goes back to the fund, and that's been a long-standing tradition among this council. that even though we budget it, doesn't mean we get to spend it. And so those reductions are from being efficient and coming in under budget.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take the vote.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
No.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. Item 2 under from the city manager.
Accepting the bid from S.A. Torello Incorporated in the amount of $9,720 for Class 2 sand to be delivered to 1808 Bancroft Street.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Councilmember Archibald, is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Ruiz. Is there discussion? We'll take the vote.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. Item 3, please.
Accepting the quote from Johnson Controls in the amount of $153,966 to perform preventative maintenance to the air handling system and cooling systems at the MOC for a period of 5 years.
Is there a motion?
So move.
Mayor Pro Tem Ashford. Is there a second?
Second?
Councilmember Lamb.
Madam Mayor, if I give it a quick explanation.
Yes.
This is the same firm that has done our maintenance agreement. This is a total for 5 years. This is the firm that has been working with our MOC for quite some time. They have a lot of experience, which is probably why we got a really good price on this. Not a lot of people do this kind of work in our region, and so we're glad that they were able to come back with a fair price.
It's half the price of the other one, so I'd say it was very good.
Yeah, Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem Ashford.
Yeah, what's the time frame? When was the last time you?
We're currently under,
prevent it?
we do a preventive maintenance contract every year. The current one we have is expiring, so we sign a multi-year agreement with
Oh,
them.
okay.
So we've always done preventative maintenance. That's the reason why we keep the system running efficiently, and this continues that.
And even on a breakdown basis, you talk about a spread over 153,000, the breakdown over 5 years is still, you break it out like that, and
Yep.
it's much cheaper. Okay, thank you.
Mayor
Any-
Rep.
Yeah, Councilmember Harris.
I guess my question is, how would this protect us in a catastrophic event that we could have? This is preventive maintenance. What if a system breaks?
This keeps it from breaking, preventive maintenance, when they do that.
Hopefully, this maintains our system
Oh,
so
I'm
we
sorry.
don't have a catastrophic event, but if something catastrophic does happen that's unusual, then we would have to cover that, correct?
Right.
Good.
Excellent
Thank you,
question.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was-
Any other questions?
Mayor Rep.
Councilmember Warden.
Yeah, the current one that's expiring, how long was the contract and how much was it for?
Why don't we have Lenny come up to provide us a little background, since he has the background file on this?
Madam Mayor, Council, I believe your question is, what's the status of the current contract?
Yeah, how much is it per year, or, it's expiring, so just want to have a comparison.
Well, we have an escalator clause in our current contract, and we have an escalator clause essentially in the new contract. We asked for a 5-year breakout, and the first year starts at $29,000 per year, and it escalates until we get to year 5, which in this case is $32,640. Our current contract did the same thing, although it started back at roughly $24,000 and worked its way up to $28,000 and change. So it's essentially JCI, who knows the building very well. We asked for about 5 different bidders. It was JCI and Watson Brothers who submitted bids for this particular project, and JCI, Johnson Controls, came in with a very good price.
So we're basically pretty consistent on that, not too big of an increase, it looks like, just continuing it.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
It appears to me, the numbers you just gave me, that it's pretty much a consistent, not aggressive cost on an annual basis, the way this bid came in.
That's correct.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you. We'll take the vote.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. Item 4, please.
Accepting the proposal from Environmental Maintenance Engineers Incorporated in the amount of $10,500 for the removal of existing asbestos flooring in the laboratory at the wastewater treatment plant.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Councilmember Archibald, is there a second?
Second?
Councilmember Lamb.
Madam Mayor, this will be removing a very small amount of flooring. Once that flooring's removed, we will probably bring a purchase back. They want to do some type of epoxy flooring on that concrete floor, so it's easy maintenance. This funding will be coming out of the sewer fund, the wastewater fund.
Is this something we knew was going to happen?
Yeah, we knew this was on our radar, yep.
Okay. Any other discussion? We'll take the vote.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. Resolutions, number 1, please.
Authorizing 18 payments.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Councilmember Archibald, is there a second?
Second?
Councilmember Lamb. Is there any discussion?
Rep.
Councilmember Harris.
Just a comment. I looked at the one here, Body Construction has a change order. I think it came in at $26,000 last December, but now we're making another $5,000 payment almost a year later. And Raymond Excavating has one here for $26,700 for Lakeview and Pleasant Street. And I don't like the trend when we get these change orders that come into that much, and just hope that somehow or another we can look at it. Pleasant Street, I was really surprised how quick they got the job done. I guess it wasn't quite the same concern that on Lakeview. It went a little bit longer, but how did this one get there from last year, this $5,000?
So when it comes to these, excellent question, when it comes to these change orders, it has to do with quantities. When we're digging up water main that's 100 years old or 80 years old, there has to be a certain amount of sand, a certain amount of concrete, a certain amount of rock to make sure that it's installed correctly. And if we get in there and the depths are different than what we thought, or it needs to be adjusted, on a large project like that, that's pretty a marginal change order. As for Lakeview versus Pleasant, they were a significantly larger scope of project on Lakeview than on Pleasant Street. But again, it's getting in there, knowing what we have to do, more sidewalk than we anticipated as well. Lakeview had a significant more sidewalk that had to be anticipated. That was my directive, to replace some of the sidewalk that we normally wouldn't have. So it's the quantities of the material, and you really don't know till you open it up, and we're dealing with 100-year-old infrastructure here.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor Rep.
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem Ashford.
In regards, just to piggyback off council member's question there, there's a process that we follow to our change orders. We just don't do it because the contractor wants it. I mean,
Yeah,
how is that? Can you explain
Yeah,
that to
absolutely.
us?
So Lenny has a team of inspectors that are on the job at all time, and they're checking quantities, waste slips. So if they're dropping off sand, we check the sand, we check the quantities. If they need, our inspector is on site. That's why we pay a lot to have our inspectors there. They go in the hole, they measure, they make sure that the quantities are right. We want to make sure that that infrastructure is installed properly, has the right compaction, the right amount of sand. And Lenny's team is on site overseeing those contractors. So every change order goes through a process from our boots on the ground inspector to the engineering to Lenny, and then comes to my desk. So by the time it gets to my desk, I have a team of engineers and experts who make sure that that change order, it has merit and it's been inspected.
And it's quality insurance
Absolutely.
you're looking for, and you also, there's a sign-off at each point, is that correct?
Correct.
All right, thank you.
Mayor Rep.
Councilmember Ruiz.
City Manager, are there not times we come in with these large projects, and again, I respect the fact that you say that you can't hit it right on the nose, and these are small change orders. Are there not a number of times we come in under budget?
Correctly, I would say a vast majority of our projects come in well under budget. I think we remember one a couple of months ago that was about $50,000 under budget. Our project at the old water plant came in under budget. So, yeah, you come in under budget on some, and you find some surprises in the other ones, but you are correct, yep.
Maybe that's something we should emphasize, the number of times we do that, just to make sure it's caught. And
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you. Any other discussion? We'll take the vote.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
yes,
Mayor Rep.
Yes. Resolution number 2.
Supporting the Planning Commission's adoption of the amended comprehensive master plan for the period of 2018 through 2022 as required under the Michigan Enabling Act of 2008.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Councilmember Archibald, is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Ruiz, and I see Mr. Haynes up there, and I was just going to ask if you'd give a brief overview as well as explain what our obligation is as far as the master plan.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. What you have before you is one of the steps for our, master plan. The master plan has gone through its process and in public input. It went before the Planning Commission back on November 7th for its public hearing and also its adoption and vote. It's now before you as the next step. It must be submitted to the legislative body, and at this point, it is then ready to go out to the public as a finished document. So what is before you is a request for support, although the plan has been adopted, and that is the authority of the Planning Commission by the Michigan Planning Enabling Act. But some of the items that you may have seen within the plan is much like our past plan that was prior to this. It concentrated on the neighborhoods, our downtown, what are improvements that we can make both in safety and aesthetics. We also concentrated on some of the key features that the state of Michigan looks for when they're looking at a master plan, and also incorporating some of their direction, which is placemaking. It is also redevelopment-ready communities. As you might know, that is now being tied to much of the funding within the state, ensuring that the cities are going through this process and utilizing the tools that they're making available. We're also implementing the target market analysis that was completed, where it's identifying the missing middle type of housing stock. So as we look at maybe infill, these are the type of products we would want to look at as far as new housing designs. We also incorporated the rec plan, which was not part of the original master plan. That is something that is different, and it's also something that the state of Michigan looks to see as part of our process. We concentrated on the Bridge Plaza area and what possibly could be redeveloped once that property is given back to the city. Again, that would be going back to the target market analysis, looking at what type of housing would be suitable, also looking at what that commercial corridor might look like, and different funding tools that could be used to enhance that corridor, whether that be the corridor enhancement, tax capture. We could also look at the principal shopping districts. So there's a whole host of tools that this can identify for us. So as we've gone through, this is now a document that will last us for the next 5 years. Every 5 years, it's by requirement that we review our master plan and then determine whether or not we should do a full master plan update or just amendments to the plan in a smaller scale. But as we progress, this is a living document. This is not something that sits up on a shelf for 20 years. Instead, this is something we need to visit from time to time to see if it's kind of the direction we're looking to go.
Thank you. Is there any questions? Yes, Councilmember
Yeah.
Harris.
Mayor Rep, I think I asked this question last week at the City Plan Commission meeting, but maybe David go over it again. On page 25 of your document, it basically talks about commercial downtown districts and stuff, and in specifics, they refer to Black River. And it's it was the support for connected pedestrian walkways and open public green spaces. And as you noticed, when I brought up then is the fact that we want to change the property on River Street from recreation property to multifamily residential property. And I think you made some presentation, or a little bit of a presentation the other night. How are we going to get from the one step to the next step, from changing this from recreation property to multifamily?
Well, as we discussed during the meeting, that this is just a reference as to what could happen. And as you've seen, this use has been identified going all the way back to the original beginnings of Dockside. And we have yet to have a developer at the table to initiate this. During that whole process, though, if there were a developer at the table, it would be up to this body to decide, one, would that project go forward? And two, what would those terms be if you did decide to go forward? So you would remain in control of the process all the way through.
One other thing that I brought up the other night, and looking at the document, and it was kind of an outstanding thing. I don't know if anybody's seen it here, but they have a kind of a short chapter there on traffic calming. And I know we've done a little experiment with it with some money lately in downtown with some of the stop signs, but I think they have a unique formula, and I don't know who put it in the document, to basically calm the traffic down in some of our neighborhoods where we have stretches where they're going way beyond the speed limit. And I just, I'll be supporting the document, and I really think this is a standout thing, because I think that our neighborhoods are our background, and without saving them and creating that safe environment, we're not going to go anyplace. And I just hope that whoever brought this up, and it's not just something in a document, I hope to, like say, in the next 4 or 5 years, see some of this happen, and not necessarily downtown, but probably in the neighborhoods. So, like I say, my thanks to whoever put it in there, because I think it's good.
Well, traffic calming has been a thought in the neighborhoods, going back for actually probably 15 years at least. The thought has been putting in cul-de-sacs in some of the areas, just for that very reason. It creates a safer neighborhood, not only for traffic and traffic speeds, but also safety and crime. When it's not an easy access to come out of a neighborhood, you're less apt to have a criminal going into that area knowing that he cannot get out very easily. And also, if you have a cul-de-sac, and I live on a dead end, you know very easily when a car is going by, is it your neighbor or is it a car you don't recognize? And you kind of actually pay a little more attention.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from council? Yes, Mayor Pro Tem Ashford.
I probably have a question, but first of all, I'd like to commend the Planning Commission on a fine, well-put-together document. I did scan it and have targeted some sections of it, but I haven't really fully read through it. And I like what I see, and I can appreciate how you took the market analysis and all the work that you are doing and integrated it within the master plan. You just didn't leave it there as a standalone, but you were able enough to be creative enough to give us a whole view of what we want our city to look like, within that 5 years of future going on. And I guess the question is, with the master plan, I think, do you draw from there your goals that you possibly want to meet for the future of the city of Port Huron?
Correct. That this will be the guide going forward of plan development. We would like to look at the development of pattern books,
Right.
Both in commercial and residential. And a quick explanation of a pattern book is a good example would be Grand Rapids. They have an excellent neighborhood pattern book. It is design elements that you would allow for infill within your neighborhood, making sure that it's homogeneous with the surrounding properties. It's not adding something that is completely opposite of what the character of the neighborhood, trying to find ways to preserve the character of that neighborhood.
Right.
So this will be just a guide going forward as to what type of more specific plans we will look to implement and develop.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because it shouts out like you have more opportunities there and more flexibility of what we need to do going forward. And also, you mentioned placemaking, and I know we've done quite a bit in our downtown areas and stuff like that, but placemaking isn't just limited to downtown. We could move to those neighborhoods and
Absolutely.
try to do some of that. So I'd like to encourage that thought, along with council members Harris's point, that we should try to do something in there a little bit creative so they could feel the love of how it could be. Thank you, and thanks for a nice job.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any comments?
Mayor Rep.
Councilmember Warren?
I have a few comments, just to kind of, I've attended most of those planning commission meetings since I've been elected up here. I try to attend it as a resident there to follow the progress, and there's just a couple things that I wanted to make sure is clear. I heard Councilmember Harris ask the question, but also in attendance when I went to some of those planning commission meetings, the question was asked regarding the River Street Marina. Again, I've given some feedback as a concern. The River Street Marina area is currently green. It's Parks and Rec on the current land use map and the current future land use map before this got approved. And that section from the fire station to the west on River Street, again, going from Parks and Rec, this current new master plan that now has been approved by the Planning Commission shows it changing to orange multi-use or multi-family. The question is, I want to make sure it's very clear, is it was brought up multiple times in the Planning Commission, is if that area that is currently green, Parks and Rec, that grassy area from the riverbank up to River Street, that whole area, if that was going to be in the future some type of developer, some type of proposal or something coming in, does it have to go to a vote of the City of Port Huron voters for approval to sell that and to go through that entire parcel? I'd like to have that answered, because during the Planning Commission it seemed to be that that was inferred, but I'm afraid that it might not be. So I
Todd
want to,
Schaude will answer that question.
please.
Good evening. The short answer to the question you asked is yes, and that's an opinion our office has already provided.
Not just 40 feet, the whole green land there from since it's waterfront on Black River.
I'd have to look exactly what you're talking about, but our opinion was that if we have waterfront land, we can't split it or change it, develop part, keep the walkway, and then develop the rest as multifamily without going to a vote of the public.
Okay, so this area is, again, from, I think there's a squadron there and to the west of there. That whole green area will have to go to a vote of the people before it gets decided and comes to us as which developer, who developer. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's what we said.
Okay.
I'd have to look at exactly, when you say the green area, I'd have to look at
Well, it's
the
green
map,
and they're
but
changing it.
Our opinion was that the property that is currently waterfront property cannot be split and, leave one part waterfront and leave the other part no longer waterfront. We can't split that without going to a vote of the public. That was our opinion.
Okay, so I just, again, it's on page 1.2.a, and it's the section there that now has changed from, on the future land use map, that's changed from green, now it's going to be multifamily residential for that whole green area. And I just,
My belief is the answer is yes.
okay.
That's what we looked at and provided the opinion on already.
Okay, so I just appreciate it. And I've just a couple more comments on this is when you do the public feedback, this time frame, and again, this whole master plan has been a pretty big undertaking and a lot of details. Normally when you have, is it normal to have, if somebody puts official feedback in writing during the public feedback portion, isn't that usually included in the packet that would be presented to us to review?
Madam Mayor, I'll take that question. It has been the tradition of the City of Port Huron, and also per the law and how we record meeting minutes, any type of supplemental information given goes on file into the Planning Commission packet, but that information is not recorded in the meeting minutes. The meeting minutes only record the action of the body of the organization, so the legislative body or the Planning Commission organization. The meeting minutes are there to document its action. It is not there to serve as a record of comment or supplementals that people want to submit. However, Mr. Warden, you have submitted significant amount of supplemental pieces of information to the Planning Commission, and you can rest assured that that is on file in the clerk's office, should anyone want to see it.
Okay, that's great. The other thing I just want to put out there is that, looking forward, and the concern I did bring up, and I want to make sure it's in front of us here, and you have a green Parks and Rec area that we just had the August 8th, where we went to the city voters, the voters of the city of Port Huron for a millage for Parks and Rec and also a millage for public safety, which would be to maintain the 3, fire stations, which is right there. And I just see that as, with confidence, the voters said yes to both of those. And I have just a concern that we're doing a potential future land use change right now when the voters just said yes to strongly support maintaining, Parks and Rec land facilities and programs, and as well as the public safety. I just wanted to get that out there. I know the Planning Commission is probably taking that into consideration, and I just do feel that that's something that, has a concern for myself and the people that have put me in this seat. So I just wanted to bring that to our attention, that we be respectful of the voters when something does come up, that we make sure that it is brought up like it was mentioned. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion from council?
Can I
Yes,
just have
Councilmember
one
Lamb.
clarification? I don't know if I misunderstood this or not, but did you say that the area could not be divided? It's green now, but there was a
Yes.
plan that we could keep it green for a certain foot and then have the other orange?
Let me take that. I think there's confusion. A couple months ago, I had sent out the possibility of one day developing on that, and how we could also develop it by maintaining some type of parkland for a marina. Nowhere is there any beneficial plan for 40 feet. I think most is coming from a council memo I sent out a while ago. One day, if we ever were to explore developing that, which has been a common goal of the city of Port Huron for more than 10, 15 years, there are ways of doing it which maintain the marina, public access land. There is significant amount of land in the high banks there. And so we cannot divide, our legal counsel essentially said we cannot divide, keep the marina and sell the rest of it without a vote of the people. That was determined as well. The West Quay parking lot, a lot of people don't know this, but we did have a vote of the people in the West Quay parking lot, and the voters did approve the sale. And that approval still stands should we ever want to develop the West Quay parking lot. The same would be for any type of change, division, anything to do with that waterfront property. We would have to go to the vote of the people as required by city charter. But the 40 feet, there's no plan for division. None of that is in the works at all.
I
Yep.
came up with that because I was at the meeting.
Yep, absolutely.
And they had mentioned something, and then
Yep, I
just
believe that was
wanted to clarify
derived from
that
an email
to
I
my-
sent to council a couple months ago. But
Okay, thank you.
Before any development would take place, there's a whole number of steps that would have to take place, including several votes by this body. This document, as Mr. Haynes said, is a guide for the future, right? It's a guide. It's nothing etched in stone. And, if any future development were to happen, there would be development agreements that this council would approve. If there were zoning changes, it would go to the Planning Commission and then come to this board, the council, to make a decision on those, a final decision on those changes. So a lot would have to take place. And again, if that development were on waterfront property, then we have a charter to comply with as well, which would require us to go to the public for a vote.
Thank you.
Mayor, just one other comment to lead with your wrap-up sermon there. And I think, too, that you want to put out there that when public input does come in, whether it's written or voiced or whatever, I know we always want the public to know that we appreciate their input, and we take it under consideration. And if you can use it or whatever, then you apply it to wherever is necessary. But we don't actually just take it and just file it, and that's it. We read it, and discuss it among, that's what you are, your staff. And if there's any nuggets in there, then we do what we do best. We create our whole plan built around what we need to do for the city. Okay, thanks.
Any other discussion? Thank you. I guess I would just say it's thank you to the Planning Commission for a great document. I see here it started back in January, so you've been almost a full year going through the whole process. So it takes a lot of time, I know that.
I appreciate the thanks, but really, we should give thanks to Kim Harmer for all of her efforts in putting this plan together. Unfortunately, Kim could not be here tonight. She had an unfortunate accident and injured herself.
Oh, no, not bad,
And
is it?
so she's kind of laid up for a few days. I'm sure she'll be fine, but I wish she were here that we could all thank her for her hard work and effort.
Well, we'll pass along our thanks to her as well.
Madam Mayor, if I could say about the plan, I think it's really nice that we combined the master plan for parks and the master plan for the city. Most communities do that separately, but as Councilwoman Ashford, you mentioned placemaking in the neighborhoods. We have 22 city parks that are in the hearts of all of our neighborhoods. And so to look at the master plan and our parks plan as different, it seems illogical. So this is the first time that we've combined the two. And I think that goes significantly far when it comes to our placemaking efforts, because really our community gathering points in those neighborhoods are the parks. And so that was also, and also we saved a lot of money doing it together. So appreciate that. We also want to note that funding for this project, the master plan update, came from our MDOT mitigation dollars that helped fund Kim Harmon, her part-time work, and help putting this together. And so we thank MDOT partners for this funding as well.
I don't want to go tick for tack, but, you know, I realized I knew the parks were there, but I'm saying you're not limited. There's
No,
other-
correct, yep.
There's other things that make a community other than a park that neighborhoods recognize.
Yep.
So I just want to make that point.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay,
Thank you, David.
thank you.
We will take a vote.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
No.
Mayor Rep?
Yes, we'll move on to item 3.
Authorizing the city clerk to add an annotation to section 4-4C of the city charter to change the nominating petition deadline to be consistent with Michigan election law.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Councilmember Archibald, is there a second?
Support?
Councilmember Lamb. Discussion?
Mayor Rep?
Councilmember
I
Harris.
guess I just had a question. I was looking at the kind of the definition that was in our packet stuff, but how does this affect us with having no primary?
The deadline used to be 12 weeks, that's what our charter says right now. It's 12 weeks prior to the actual election. So now it is actually going to be, let me read what it exactly is here. At a time provided by the charter, but no later than the date of the August primary. So they moved it from 12 weeks to 15 weeks. But 15 weeks is actually going to take us before the actual primary. So because we are an even year November election with no primary, this is what our filing deadline is. And there's been some clerks in the news lately who have given out the wrong filing dates. And the state has actually put a penalty in, beginning on January 1st of 2018. There'll be a civil fine of $5,000 for any city that misstates the filing deadlines. So, of course, election law trumps our charter on that, so this is just a little note that we need to put in there. And the Home Rule City Act allows us to do that by resolution.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And you don't want to fine.
I don't want to find.
Is there any discussion?
Well, I'm just going to say thanks for coming up with that.
I can't really take a lot of credit. It was brought to my attention by MML, so
Thank
we'll
you.
give them their credit.
We will take the vote.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Mayor Rep?
Yes. Item 6.
Confirming and approving single lot assessments for fines, assessments, and/or the cost of removing blight, blighting factors, and/or the causes of blight, as well as the abatement of nuisances.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Councilmember Archibald, is there a second?
Second?
Councilmember Lamb. Any discussion? We'll take the vote.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Mayor Rep?
Yes. Item 9.
Approving a new 4-year collective bargaining agreement with the Police Officers Association of Michigan through June 30th, 2021.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Councilmember Archibald, is there a second?
Second?
Councilmember Lamb. Is there discussion?
Mayor Rep.
Councilmember Warden.
I just want to say thank you to the police officers union for coming to the table and working out and with some concessions there that will benefit the city in the time of need and take care of helping attract also, maintain stability and help attract potential new officers to want to work here and stay here and be in our community. And so thank you very much.
Anyone else? I certainly agree with you on that one.
Madam Mayor, I just want to say I thank the police union as well. Our police officers not only lead on the streets every day, they're leaders in our community, but they're also leaders in our city hall. And leading by example, they'll be the first union that has come to the table and found equitable terms. I appreciate the sacrifice. This is not a contract of just one sacrifice. This is sacrifices for the last decade that you guys have come and done what is necessary to help the citizens of this community, not only financially, but with your sweat, blood, and tears out in the field. And so we thank you for that. And it was a good deal for the city. It was a good deal for the officers, and I appreciate that we get it done. I spoke in Lansing before the House of Representatives a couple weeks ago, and I said at our collective bargaining groups, we don't see them as opponents or enemies. We see them as partners at the table, and this contract demonstrates just that, and so I couldn't be prouder of you guys.
We will take the vote. Did you have something, Mayor?
I'd just like to
Ashford?
thank Julie and Ed for pulling me in, and because I didn't know just how I was positioned because of a bad miss here, but I do understand, and I'd like to commend them on the job that they continue to do, because this couldn't have happened just with the police and the job that they do, but you sitting there at the table negotiating in good faith on behalf of us as a city of Port Huron. So thank you both very much. Y'all scared to clap? Clap, clap, hey! Give us some play here.
Well,
Jeez.
thank you. Is there anyone else?
Thank you, Ms. Bender. Yeah.
It does take everybody, so I do commend everyone who was at the table. And we'll move forward. We will take a vote.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Ruiz?
Yes.
Councilmember Warden?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Mayor Rep?
Yes, that concludes our agenda. We have a young man in the audience tonight, Nicholas. Raise your hand. And he's working on his Eagle Scout. So we want to welcome him here. And I don't know if you'd like to come to the podium. I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you'd just like to tell us a little about yourself. And sorry.
Don't know what to say.
Just hello, and where do you go to school?
I go PH and SC4.
Both places? You're on the that program there, the accelerated program?
Yeah.
Are you in the Blue Water Middle College?
Yes.
Incredible program. Excellent. Thanks for coming.
And how much time do you have left for getting your Eagle Scout?
About 2 weeks.
About 2 weeks. So you're finishing up tonight on what you have to do. You got all your requirements done?
Pretty much.
Well, good. Well, congratulations.
Thanks.
Oh, you're welcome. And thank you for letting me put you on the spot. Okay, thank you. Other announcements, the city offices will be closed November 23rd and 24th in observance of the Thanksgiving holiday. Trash collection for Thursday's customers will be delayed until Friday. The annual Santa Parade will be held in downtown area on Friday, November the 24th. That would be the announcements. Is there anything else to come before the council before we adjourn?
Do we have a meeting the second?
Yes, we do have the second meeting, so we have a meeting on the 26th. It would be after Thanksgiving,
Oh, okay.
yes.
Mayor Rep?
One in December?
One in December. We only have one. The first meeting in December is the second week,
Oh, okay.
second Monday, and that's it. By ordinance now, it's the
Right.
second one's been canceled,
Okay.
okay?
Yes, the 27th is the meeting.
Yes, otherwise we'd be, yeah.
Since
I meant the
we don't
27th,
have
yeah.
a second,
Did I say the
another meeting.
26th, the 27th, 2 weeks from tonight. We have a
Yes.
meeting, yeah.
Since we don't have another meeting before Thanksgiving, I just wanted to wish everyone a very happy Thanksgiving, a safe holiday, and I hope to see you all at the Santa Parade.
Where? Oh, it's
The Santa Parade.
The Santa Parade.
Santa parade.
That-
Let's hope it's not real cold.
I know.
Madam Mayor, just a quick note on the first public comment of the night. I have never spoken to that gentleman. I was in my office about a week ago, and I believe that a security issue had emerged within our building. I was on the 4th floor, and there was some commotion coming from the 3rd floor. I entered the 3rd floor at the time of our officers were removing someone from the building. That is the only interaction I had with that person. I've never spoke with him.
But if you could give us just a
Yeah,
little
oh,
bit
yeah,
of a
absolutely,
report
but-
as to what the
yeah,
whole issue's
absolutely,
about,
but
I'd
there was-
appreciate it.
A little bit more to that tonight.
Yep. Thank you.
You're up.
Councilmember Harris?
Just a comment. I wanted to thank James and the city for providing his time to recognize the scholars at Portland Northern High School. And besides that, there's a lot going on in McMorran between now and our next meeting, and especially the crosstown hockey with Portland, Marysville, and Anchor Bay. So everybody have a great Thanksgiving.
Yes, thank you. Did
Mayor,
you, Councilmember
Yeah,
Warden?
again, same thing with McMorran, has said outstanding, just everything going on there. Went to theater, you got all kinds of stuff. And I also wanted to, I think there was a Port Huron High School marching band, got an award. Not really exactly know what it is, but it was something that I saw was, a award from a contest that the Detroit news stations were involved with, and I just want to, we have such an outstanding community with all these athletes, scholars, these different groups, and all these things going on. We have such positive things going on here. It's great that we could have a long list here, and I encourage anybody that's listening, if they do have some of this stuff, feel free to email me on my council email. Give me a little heads up on some of this stuff so we can bring it up for an announcement if we want to share. But thank you.
Anyone else? Is there a motion to adjourn? Thank you. Meeting adjourned. Have a good Thanksgiving.
I couldn't place him, right? I just couldn't place him. And then I remember I'm sitting in my office.
I know, when I changed this